This is the Three Things, and I'm Gene Church. Today's episode, Amy Coney Barrett, and what do you do when you're the smartest person in the room? It appears that the Democrats, at least for now, have remained focused on their goals before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So too had the Republicans. The committee hearing continued back in session this evening with a speech by Kamala Harris making an impassioned plea for the Affordable Care Act, for which this really has nothing to do with. The hearing itself wrapped up only in the last 15 minutes. Why did this issue get erased? Well, if Judge Barrett was not involved in the case after Election Day and the other justices vote in the fashion that they did in the previous Obamacare case, then the result would be a 4-4 decision, and the decision of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals would stand, and the individual mandate would be struck down regardless. Harris's presentation was not particularly well delivered or persuasive, partially because she chose to make her presentation from the floor below by video. Harris then raised the issue of abortion, or as she refers to it as reproductive rights. Harris stated that safe and legal abortions were threatened if President Trump is allowed to have his nominee confirmed. She pressed Harris Harris pressed to discuss how Judge Barrett felt about a woman's right to choose. NAACP and Planned Parenthood submitted letters in opposition to Judge Barrett. In response, Senator John Kennedy admitted letters of 281 students of Judge Barrett in support of her confirmation. Senator Kennedy stated that Harris had called Judge Barrett a liar and asked her if she was lying when she took her oath. She stated that she was not. Senator Kennedy, known for his funny and clever comments, showed that behind the "oh gosh, country senator" presentation, he actually has a degree from the University of Virginia Law School and from Oxford University. His discussions about the differences between originalism versus textualism and when one looks at original intent was one of the deeper conversations to how justices analyze cases. On two separate instances, Justice Barrett was asked to address George Floyd. It was a touching discussion, given that she has raised two children of color. She pointed out that she has had to discuss these issues with them and how they can address these issues in their lives. And generally, the difficulties that she deals with having to do with this are very similar to other people in the country. For the most part, the Democrats have limited their 30-minute speaking times to giving speeches rather than asking Judge Barrett all that many questions. Perhaps the worst example of this was Democrat Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, who did not bother to ask a single question of Judge Barrett during his 30 minutes, focusing instead on dark money being spent by unknown outside groups that were supporting her confirmation on the bench, claiming that millions of dollars were being spent. Whitehouse spun his tale as nefarious and a near criminal conspiracy to put conservatives on the bench for which there was no liberal equivalent. Later, Senator Ted Cruz pointed out that the Democrats were dealing with the same dark money and that they were also spending millions to convince people to try to stand against Judge Barrett. He noted that the largest organizations with dark money were actually liberal groups. Groups have attacked Barrett, particularly on the so-called feminists, who attacked her for fertility choices and claims that she was anti-woman. Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii was extremely harsh toward Judge Bennett, who picked up the anti-woman claims and claimed that it was insulting for Judge Barrett to refer to the LGBTQ crowd using the term sexual preference, since there was no preference involved. After all, they were born that way. Judge Barrett indicated that she was not trying to offend anyone, but used the terms that were found in the court documents. Ironically, this is the very same term that Joe Biden used just the other day, but it didn't seem to bother anyone at the time. Judge Barrett showed her real class and integrity in her dealings with the Judiciary Committee. She sat quietly and respectfully, even as various Democrat senators seemed to challenge her motives, and when asked questions about particular issues, such as Roe v. Wade, the upcoming presidential election, the Affordable Care Act, and LGBTQ rights, retained what was referred to as the Ginsburg rule, saying that it would be inappropriate to discuss these issues. Perhaps the most interesting part of the entire hearing today was earlier in the day when Senator John Cornyn, the Republican from Texas, started to question Judge Barrett and asked her to hold up the notebook sitting in front of her, noting that senators had multiple books and notebooks to reference. Is there anything in it? Cornyn asked as she held up a blank white notepad with blue lettering at the top. The letterhead says United States Senate, Barrett replied. Cornyn told her, that's impressive. The blank notepad went viral today, with Republicans praising her outstanding knowledge without relying on notes, and the Democrats and their liberal allies suggesting perhaps she needed to take notes since she doesn't seem to understand things. Thus far, the Democrats have done little to slow this process, or to do much to harm Judge Barrett's reputation or character. And Judge Barrett has done a tremendous amount to help Americans feel comfortable with President Trump's choice. I believe the confirmation hearings will look good for President Trump and will help Americans understand why her appointment will make a difference. She is one class act, and we should be glad to see her join the 8 others on the U.S. Supreme Court. For the 3 things, I'm Gene Church.